The Sun Tai raid, a flawless plan, broken by an unforeseen twist. The intelligence report hit the U.S. Command Center like a bomb. All American POWs had been moved out of San Tai prison. On the night of November 19th, just a few hours before the scheduled assault, an emergency meeting was called. In the dimly lit command room in Thailand, the tension was suffocating. One by one, generals and high-ranking officers entered the room with heavy expressions. They couldn't believe it. The information they had placed so much trust in was now being called into question. They were forced to put one life-or-death question on the table. Should they proceed or abort the mission they had spent months meticulously preparing? What made the situation even more unsettling for the U.S. commanders was the origin of the intelligence. It didn't come from satellites. It didn't come from the CIA. It came from a handwritten letter hidden inside a cigarette pack. The letter was sent by Nguyen Van Hoang, a figure within the prison management system, and addressed to Andras, a member of the International Control Commission, a neutral organization established after the Geneva Accords to monitor wartime activity. But Andras was no ordinary official. He was a double agent, approached and trained by the CIA to extract information about American POWs in Vietnam. Andras was not just a messenger. He was a master manipulator of information. Over months of cultivating a relationship with Hoang, he fed him tempting bits of information, enticing enough to establish a back-and-forth exchange. But behind every exchange was a trap, carefully designed to test Hoang's reliability. For example, Andras once planted a false story. An American colonel accidentally revealed the time and location of a major strike. Then he sat back and watched. Would the Vietnamese adjust their defenses accordingly? They did, every single time. Their reactions lined up perfectly with the narrative, confirming that Ho Hong held real authority and real intelligence. In their final meeting before Andras's departure from Vietnam, he played one last card. He leaned in, friendly and casual, and confided, "I'm about to be promoted. If I can solve this POW mystery, it'll all fall into place." Perhaps that's what caused Hoang to drop his guard. Maybe out of pride or sympathy or a moment of misjudgment, he revealed, "The American POWs were moved out of Son Tai long ago." Andras wasted no time. He sent the report straight back to U.S. intelligence. It reached the American generals at the most critical moment, just hours before the raid. The information was compelling, but its unofficial origin made it hard to verify. Some generals argued for cancellation. We can't risk hundreds of lives storming an empty prison. Others pushed back. What if it's a trick? What if the prisoners are still there? There was no time to investigate further. In the end, a vote was held. Everyone agreed. Proceed with the mission. If this is our only shot to rescue them, we can't let it slip away. The operation begins and ends in crushing disappointment. At exactly 23:18, the final aircraft departed from Udon Air Base, Thailand. This was it. Months of covert planning, countless hours of rehearsal. The most elite Special Forces unit America had to offer was now in the air. Every second was timed to perfection. At 2:17 a.m., the entire assault group arrived above Son Tai, 30 seconds ahead of schedule. The precision was stunning. It was a flawless military ballet performed in the dead of night. An AC-130 gunship appeared first, dropping brilliant flares that lit up the jungle like daylight, blinding potential guards and illuminating the target area. Seconds later, a wave of helicopters stormed in, skimming treetops before descending rapidly into the designated courtyard. As soon as the landing skids hit the ground, American commandos stormed out. Explosives blew the prison gates open. Entry teams split up, breaching buildings exactly as planned. "We're here! Americans! If you can hear us, stay down!" They waited. No answer. They swept through the hallways with tactical discipline, flashlights cutting through smoke and dust. And then they saw them, men sleeping on mats, shirtless, startled by the chaos. But these were not American pilots. They were North Vietnamese guards. Confusion turned into disbelief. Disbelief turned into silent rage. They kicked open every door, checked every cell. They were too late. The prison was empty. The operation didn't just fail. It cost the U.S. dearly. One helicopter clipped a tree during descent, crashed, and was left behind. 2 American soldiers were injured. Another aircraft misread its coordinates and landed 400 meters away, in the yard of a school. The team, expecting a high-stakes rescue, instead stood in the middle of a ghost facility. All they found were confused guards and abandoned cells. The shock was total. The silence, deafening. These weren't just any troops. These were America's best. Men from the Joint Special Operations Command, trained in secrecy, rehearsed to perfection. And yet, despite flawless execution, they had no one to rescue. The mission had turned into a high-profile phantom strike, a bold, daring move into an empty cage. A costly failure, and questions no one dared to answer. Before the mission began, some officers had proposed using UH-1 helicopters, a lighter, more affordable model, costing just $350,000 each. But the idea was dismissed outright. The commanding officer at the time replied firmly, "We're going to rescue pilots. You can't put a price tag on a human life." And the result? They flew in with heavy, high-value H-3s, each worth over $1 million. One was left behind, damaged and captured by the enemy. Another landed at the wrong location, 400 meters away, in a schoolyard. Millions of dollars were lost, and not a single prisoner was saved. As reports flooded back to Washington, tension surged inside the Pentagon. Hard questions began echoing through its concrete halls. Why didn't the CIA know the prison was empty? Why did infrared imagery show human presence? Was the plan leaked? No clear answers, only silence, suspicion, and the uncomfortable realization that someone would have to take the fall. When the operation was leaked, the American media exploded. Major outlets like the New York Times and the Washington Post ran headlines like, "$1 million raid on an empty cage." U.S. commandos land, no prisoners. Who's accountable? Congress launched formal inquiries. Senators accused the Pentagon of burning taxpayer money and gambling with soldiers' lives. President Nixon, who had personally signed off on the operation, remained silent for weeks. Behind closed doors, he was furious, but he couldn't lash out, because deep down he knew this trap was brilliantly set, and America's true mistake was underestimating their opponent. Sun Tai wasn't just a tactical failure, it was a severe hit to America's military reputation at a time when public opposition to the war was reaching its peak. In the aftermath, all future POW rescue missions were shelved. trust in U.S. intelligence and special forces wavered. Allied nations began questioning America's operational effectiveness. No shots were fired by the Vietnamese, no counterattack launched. Yet American forces withdrew in silence, carrying the weight of a bitter humiliation. The Sun Tai raid is a harsh reminder in the annals of modern warfare. It proved that superior firepower, perfect planning, and elite troops don't guarantee victory. What matters more, often, is intelligence, timing, and understanding your enemy. A raid without gunfire, but full of consequences. The Sun Tai raid revealed one undeniable truth. No matter how flawless a plan may seem, a single missing piece can bring the entire machine crashing down. The U.S. had mobilized nearly 60 helicopters and aircraft, over 100 elite Special Forces operators, and coordinated with the most advanced units in intelligence, logistics, and aviation. The cost of the operation soared into the tens of millions of dollars, with painful losses. One helicopter destroyed, abandoned deep in enemy territory. 2 American soldiers injured during chaotic landing operations. A misplaced landing in a civilian area nearly sparking unintended casualties. And most devastating of all, not a single POW was rescued. Militarily, a complete failure. Politically, an embarrassment. In the media, a national shockwave. Lessons from a bloodless battle. The Sun Tai raid proved that Vietnamese intelligence, with patience, creativity, and discipline, could outsmart even the most technologically advanced army in the world. That war is not a contest of who fires first or louder, but who understands their opponent better. That America's strategy of rapid deployment and overwhelming force became the very trap it fell into. While the U.S. trusted in satellites, infrared scans, and perfect logistics, Vietnam relied on one key asset: knowing what the U.S. was doing and staying one step ahead. A silent victory that echoed for years. In the aftermath of Sun Tai, the U.S. suspended all POW rescue missions and was forced to reassess its special operations doctrine. Confidence in American intelligence wavered, leading to a ripple effect in both military and political circles. For Vietnam, this was a silent yet profound victory. No bullets fired, but the entire world took notice. War favors the careful, the informed, and the adaptable. Those who act without truly knowing the board are destined to lose. Sun Tai stands as a powerful reminder: there is no such thing as an invincible plan. Only intelligence, strategy, and foresight can allow a small nation to achieve the impossible.